Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up.
Damn.
I'm Joel Hoxley. This is David Washington. This is a Jay and Washington production. We'd like to thank everybody that participates in our
Production.
in our company and our as your political innovation firm. You have the best people doing the right job. We put people in the right place. So thank you, John, for what you're doing.
Thank you, John.
Thank our associates that have been diligently working on all these campaigns that we have. And let's talk about talking about that. I want to kind of go into structure. I want to talk about planning, because I think the one thing that is overlooked with the DeSantis campaign and the DeSantis administration is how much planning they put into something. You can see when a plan comes together. Like, how about the judicial? The judicial alignments. There's a lot going on there. You want to kind of dive into that, because you can't make this shit up.
You can't.
You're going to actually have liberals with some of the most conservative judges if this thing works.
Okay, let's jump into it. So, first we had tort reform targeting the personal injury attorneys, and then the suspensions or firings of progressive states attorneys Andrew Warren and Monique Worrell.
Correct.
And now the consolidation, or the plan to consolidate Florida's judicial circuits from 20 to 5. Both conservative and progressive county leaders agree that this consolidation plan is an attempt to redraw judicial lines to tilt judicial power toward the political right, even in communities where the majority of residents favor more progressive court policies. So DeSantis and conservatives know exactly what they're doing. And Florida is America's conservative politics petri dish, and conservatives are moving fast. So let's look at your argument that this consolidation plan will help progressives when
No, I didn't.
When
I didn't say that. My comment was it will, have conservative justices leading in progressive districts, is how I put that. I put it that.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's why you look funny, because you heard it
yeah,
differently. No,
right.
listen, I'm saying that we'll actually have a chance to win a seat in where Worrell would be the only, like the Democrats usually are the only ones running. We don't ever have a qualified
Right.
Republican, because it's like just no win deal.
Right.
So at least now we're going to have some competition. We'll have some really great opportunities here as Republicans to actually have justices that want the law enforced and not the theories or these like these. Okay, well, I'm not going to prosecute any juveniles. I'm not going to prosecute any death penalty. Yes, the justice system needs to be reformed, but you can't reform it at the state, as a state attorney. Really, do it up in the legislature. If that's where you want to do it, you got to do it in the right place. And that is why these individuals are no longer in their positions,
Right.
because they didn't keep their mouth shut, or they did something so blatant that it was obvious they weren't doing their job.
So just a little back history. Representative, I'm sorry, he is a representative, but then House Speaker Paul Renner asked the Supreme Court to look into efficiencies in the judicial circuit system. And so the Supreme Court, seeing this is their purview, established a 13-member committee to travel across the state of Florida to discuss plans for efficiencies. And one of the plans is to consolidate the 20 judicial circuits across the state into 5. And so these mega circuits will definitely incorporate areas like the 9th, which is the Osceola County and Orange County. Yes, so those two counties. But then when you're looking at consolidation, you may take in Volusia, you may take in Lake, you may take in Polk, and so you
Absolutely.
get more conservative um, circuits when you boil it down to five. And some of the naysayers to this particular plan are saying, first of all, the distances traveled, like for instance, the Miami-Dade circuit, or the Broward circuit, however they call it. You have the Keys, and then traveling all the way to Florida or wherever the circuit seat will be. I mean, just the travel alone, hundreds and hundreds of miles to get from, the jurisdiction where the action originates to the circuit seat or headquarters or whatever they call it. Then also you have various municipalities that circuits have to work with, like the state's attorney and public defender. The state's attorney here in Orange County works with numerous municipalities, more than just the Orange County sheriff. When you're talking about legal issue, criminal issues, more than just the Orange County sheriff or Osceola County sheriff, you had the Orlando PD, you had the Winter Park PD, so forth and so on. So you have different jurisdictions that will grow, and then you have all the personnel, and then all the data systems in place. Everyone's using a different form of keeping data. Chaos. And there's some rhyme there's some rhythm. What's the saying? There's some method to this madness.
Yeah, but you're pointing out that because they get larger, that there's no when you make something larger, sometimes you can actually make the staff smaller. You can strategically make this where you're not employing as many as as possible. There's a whole lot of ways you can shrink this down, but you have to realize if you ask the Supreme Court to do something and the Supreme Court puts 13 people in charge of it, and you just came, the governor that just came into office has already put three justices on there. It's a conservative court now. It's not that liberal Supreme Court any longer. So, of course, you're going to have them thinking of putting more conservative counties with some of these, liberal counties to kind of put balance.
It's inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable that when you shrink down to five circuits from 20, it's inevitable that the circuits become more conservative. In regards to are the costs, are the costs going to be less than what they are now? I don't know. I mean, eh, if I'm a state's attorney and now I have to cover a circuit that stretches from one side of Florida, the Atlantic side, all the way over to the Gulf side, I think you'll incur some more costs from just traveling, meeting with the different jurisdictions, the sheriffs, the police chiefs. You have different systems in place. You have to get on the same system, or at least find some way of accommodating everyone on the same data information platform.
I'm
I think the cost will be a little bit higher once the consolidation
don't you think
starts, before
so? You keep saying
things
so.
kind of level out.
So if I'm getting this right, if I am in the Ninth Circuit, which is Orange and Osceola, and the the state attorney is located in Orlando, is there not a place that they are located in Osceola? And wouldn't you be stationed in one or the other, or would you have to go back and forth? I would think that you would keep your justices in their own courthouse, even though they have the opportunity to do both. So I don't know what type of restructuring needs to be taking place. I understand that if you make it larger, you still have I would have satellite locations, and I would have judges that aren't traveling everywhere. So I don't know exactly how it works Because if it works the way you're making it sound like that they have to travel to different courthouses,
Well,
then I would say, oh yeah, then that's definitely creating a burden on the justice.
well, let's look at it from the point of view of the end user, the people who are witnesses to a particular case, the people who are the plaintiffs, the defendants. Um, what about their convenience traveling from, let's take the Miami-Dade circuit, and you incorporate Treasure Island into that circuit. I mean, you're traveling 100 miles, from where the incident took place into that particular, circuit seat. That's what I'm calling it, just to have your day of justice. It's is it convenient for the end user, for people seeking justice, to have a remedy in court, to get their day in court, to have a resolution in court.
So you're saying when they make these larger, that these people are going to have to go all the way from one county to another. I, I I would say that the poor guy that was in Orlando that got robbed in Orlando and he has to go home is just as burdened that he has to come back to Orange County
Yeah, he's
to
one of the
seek
end
justice.
users. He's one of the end users.
But he
That's what
has
I'm
to come to
saying.
Orange County even if he lives in Miami because the crime was in Orange County. He could be he, the the witness is going to go where he has to go. And if he doesn't, then the prosecutor can't prosecute the case. Like we have many people, many crimes that happen in Orlando because it's a tourist destination that don't ever get taken care of because the witnesses are they went home. They went to back to their state and they don't want to come back to do a trial. So unless you're paying for them to fly in and everything else, they're not showing up.
It's just that it- we already know that there's not enough judges. We already know that
Oh,
there
I
is
only know
not
about the
enough.
teachers.
Well, that's judges also.
Just
There's not
joking.
enough judges.
I know.
There are not enough courtrooms. Um, Judges are not compensated the way they would like to be compensated. The number of cases have skyrocketed recently with the new tort reform that was passed. It's a lot. It's a lot. And now with these mega circuits that are being recommended, it's going to be even more so. And trying to communicate with hundreds of people on your staff and have some consistency, it's going to take some time to get there. And is it all for the better for the end user, for the citizens? I don't know.
Well, I see positive. I see how it could be positive, and I also see how it can
Mhm.
be negative. So, I want. I think they believe that if they have a good plan and they stick with their plan, they have to see. They have to see what's. They had to have done the research. I just don't see it as a whim type of
Mm.
move, uh, motion. But the this is. I just want to. Every time you talk about the judicial pay, you mentioned judicial pay, like judges have always been uh, well compensated because even the Constitution makes it a point that judges get paid, and that was because they wanted to make sure that they were you would avoid the bribery and all this stuff. So I mean, if they want more money, I have a problem with that because they're some of the most compensated in
Sure,
the state.
sure. Um, my final note on this, I just want to read what some of the rural county leaders have said in meetings, that this has been an attempt to redraw judicial lines to tilt the judicial power toward the political right, even in communities where the majority of residents favor more progressive court policies. So this is coming from conservative leaders who see that this is a judicial power grab, judicial gerrymandering to help the political right. And again, folks, elections have consequences.
That's what I was going to say, David.
We've talked about this time and time again. So I respect the decision. It's not fortified. This decision has not been made final yet. However, we do see the writing on the wall. And as I've stated to one of the candidates for Circuit District 9 on the Republican side, it's just a matter of time. This is just a matter of time, and this is just part of the political playbook here in Florida.
Florida,
Conservatives.
Florida no longer. Florida is no longer purple. Ever since 2000, we have been working to make this a red state, and we have accomplished that. And now that we are a red state, we will continue to bring in more conservatives that look at living in a place where people agree with them. They're moving to Florida, and if you want to be progressive, you move into California, and that this judges need to be conservative. That's it. That's my final word.
Here we go. Please like, share, hit the notification button, subscribe, subscribe to our content across all of our platforms. But more importantly, comment. We love to hear what you have to say. We love to engage you on our socials, in person, email, whatever. We love to have that conversation with you, because if we did not have that conversation with you, we wouldn't have this community. And we really appreciate you being a part of the Jay and Washington Network. Joel Hawksley, David Washington, we're J&W, your political innovators.